Welcome to Punctuation for Court Reporters, video number 59, the top 4 number formatting rules. I'm Ken Wick. Let's get started. So about 6% of punctuation questions concern number formatting. See video number 48. And I have 7 videos on number formatting. If you want to see them, see videos number 31 through 37. In this video, we'll cover the top 4 formatting rules for numbers. So the top rule number 1, these are in no particular order. I believe they're just in order that I cover them in my book. So rule number 60, words versus numbers. Basically, you spell out numbers 1 through 10, except for numbers related to dates, time, except for when you're using the word o'clock, addresses, money, technical measurements, percentages, fractions, decimals, numbered references, that's like exhibit number 3, and age. And you use figures for numbers 11 and above. So just some examples. Mr. Smith bought 3 turkeys for Thanksgiving. Since this number is from 1 to 10, it's not one of these types of numbers. We would spell it out, so we use words. Another example is Mrs. Anderson has 63 pairs of shoes. This number is above 10, so we use a figure. Just so you know, this scheme of spelling out under, or 10 and under is just one of the 2 main schemes in formatting numbers. The other popular one, which court reporters do not use, is you use words for numbers you can express in 2 words or less. So you would basically spell out every number from 0 to 100 and then some even numbers. So, you'd spell out 99 and you'd spell out 200, you'd spell out 5,000. But just for people that are interested in that. But basically, court reporters use this scheme. So if you see something else going on in a book, that's the reason why. It's not that it's wrong. The book's probably using it right. It's just the court reporters use this formatting scheme. So punctuation rule number 2, dates. So this is the formatting of dates. So there's, I believe I cover 4 or 5 formatting types. So the first type is where you have month, day, and year. And how you do that is you put a comma after the day, and you put a comma after the year if it's mid-sentence. Now, the comma after the year mid-sentence is a question that you see pop up regularly, and it seems like most people leave it out, or maybe their office says that they should leave it out. But just so you know, the comma after year, so where do we get this in the various references? Well, LMEG Rules 179, it doesn't have an example. It doesn't specify the comma after the year, and it has no example of a comma after year, and it doesn't have an example where it doesn't have one. So you really don't know. But the GRM, so the Greg's Reference Manual, does. It does, you do put the comma after the year. And court reporters follow the Greg's Reference Manual, which the LMEG is based upon. So if you're following the style manuals, you're following Greg, you're supposed to be putting a comma after the year. And if you're following the BGGP, yes, you put a comma after the year. That's setting off comma rule 4. And if you're following Chicago Manual Style or the Associated Press, these are 2 probably very popular. This is how books are styled, and this is how basically media, so newspapers and everything, they put a comma after the year. So these 2 very popular references put a comma. So comma, 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 comma. This one is not clear. So basically put a comma. So your in-house style, meaning your company can tell you to put it or not put the comma, but they're then not following one of the known style guides. So example, my son was born on April 5th, 2003. Then a mid-sentence example, I went on June 17th, 2008, to see the doctor. So once again, you're starting to see this comma not used, or some people don't use it. It's a common question, And I hate to say it, at work, I do not see people putting this comma, and I correct it all the time. So continuing with the formatting, if you just have month and year, no commas. So in June 2018, I visited the doctor, you would not put a comma. And then the other style is if you just have month and day, no commas. So on June 17th, I visited the doctor, so you wouldn't use any commas in this case. And notice I particularly used mid-sentence examples to show you there's also no comma after. So you don't put them between, and you don't put it after. And the next formatting one is day, month, year. So no commas. So on 17th of June 2018, I reported for duty. This is a common format that you see in basically outside the United States and used in the military. So that's it for dates. Let's move on to the top formatting rule number 3. Basically, time expressions. Use numbers to express time before AM and PM. Use numbers to express time without AM, PM, or o'clock. Use a colon between the hour and minutes, and ciphers, those are the zeros, for the minutes for a time on the hour. Use 4 digits with no colon for military time. So that's the basic rule. Let's just drill down and do some examples. So, some notes is that the preferred way to write time on the hour is without the ciphers, without the zeros. So it's like if you had 7 a.m. However, LMEG and GRM allow the ciphers. So you'd have 7:00 a.m. So this is the preferred way to write it in these style guides, but you can write it with the colon and the zeros. And if time is expressed without AM, PM, or o'clock, use numbers. So just coming back to this rule, but just to drill down on this one, it does actually vary. So just so you know, like my rules in my book, I use the common rule, or when they don't agree, I try to come up with the one that's consistent among all of them, and sometimes I default to the Greg's reference manual, since that's what court reporting is based upon. But just to go to the various styles references, so actually, if you were using LMEG, you do exact opposite of what I say to do in my rule number 65. You'd actually use words. In the BGGP, you would actually use numbers, and you'd use the zeros, the ciphers, if the time was on the hour. So notice these are an exact opposite. And the Greg's reference manual says you can use words or numbers. And if it's on the hours, you use the zeros or the ciphers. So there you go. So it's really toss-up. Greg's reference manual says you can actually use either. So pick whatever. So use whatever style manual you want to. And if you're a proofreader, I guess you're using the style that your court reporter wants. So, and then something about the usage of AM and PM. What is it? Is it lowercase? Is it capital? What is it? So with the LMEG, Greg's reference manual, and the Chicago manual style, the preferred writing is lowercase a and PM. So it basically defaults to this and says use this. I'm sorry. LMEG says use lowercase. Greg's reference manual says use lowercase. And the Chicago preferred is lowercase. Make a correction there. The BGGP says it's lowercase or uppercase with the periods. So either is okay to the BGGP. And if you look it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it's lowercase or uppercase without the periods. So there you go. So there's the various references. You can once again use your favorite style. But most common, that's why I put it here. These have specified, this is preferred, and you can see the AM, PM both have the. That's why I say my rule use the lowercase. So just some examples. I left work at 4:30 p.m. and I arrived home at 5:15. So here you have the rule using the numbers for time with AM, PM, and then here I said use numbers without AM and PM. So then the ferry leaves at 7 a.m. and like I said before, the LMEG and the Griggs Reference Manual would prefer 7 a.m. without the colon and ciphers, but you can write it this way. It's just they prefer to write it this way. I set the alarm for 6. So if someone said that, I set the alarm for 6. My rule says you write it this way. LMEG says you would write it, you'd spell it out, use words. And then the Griggs Reference Manual would say use either this format or this format. And actually the BGGP would use this format. So once again, you can see how I defaulted to this because it's the most typical, or the most it's okay, or the BGGP uses it, and the Griggs Reference Manual says it's okay. And then the ferry leaves at 0700 hours, so that's what someone said, 0700 hours or 700 hours. If they said either one of these, they're talking military time. This is the way you'd write it because you use numbers with the 4 digits. That's how you'd write military time. Last but not least is money. So let's talk about writing money, which comes up. So I think you'll really like the examples, because if you read these examples, it will probably answer a lot of the questions I see come up on like Facebook. So use numbers to express some amount of money. Write only the $sign. This is why I highlight this in red. Only write the $sign or symbol if the word dollar is said. So if they don't say dollar, you don't write the symbol. Omit the decimal and ciphers, the zeros, for even dollar amounts. For an amount under $1, use cents if used alone. If not, so if it's not used alone, use the dollar symbol without the zero or the cipher. Always use a consistent format within the sentence or context. If that seems like a mouthful, you're not too sure what's going on, the examples will help spell all this out. So maybe read that again, and then when you see the examples, you can always refer back to this slide. But let's keep drilling down. So I'm going to drill down into the use of the cipher, which might have lost some people. So basically, the LMEG and the Griggs Reference Manual say no cipher, no zero before the decimal point for an amount under $1. So someone said 89 cents. Well, if they just use it alone in a sentence, you'd write 89 cents. You'd write 89 cents. But if you're going to have to write it with the $sign, then you would not use a zero here. But the BGGP says either the cipher, you can write it with the cipher, without the cipher, so you can write it either way. It would be correct. And then the Chicago Manual Style uses the cipher. The reason you do this is that, one, it's used in decimal. When you write out decimals, if you have if this was not a dollar amount, you'd write the cipher here. And this seems to be more of a modern writing style, is to use this zero or cipher. So use what style manual you want to. That's how each one of them writes it. So let's go over the examples. And this is where I say it's very instructive. So it's almost, you can look at these examples and get all the rules. So someone said $800. Okay, so my rent is $800. You'd write this way, because you use a number, and since they said the word dollar, you put the dollar symbol. The price range, now they said $100 to $125. So the price ranged from $100 to $125. So use a number, and since they said the word dollars, you put the dollar symbol. The price ranged from $100 to $125. So we'll use a number. Now, in this case, this is probably, you've been hearing me say, we use the symbol, but this is a case where you not use it and you just write dollars afterwards. This is probably one of the common questions that I see, is that someone says $100 to $125, what do you write? So this is how you write that, $100 to $125. Because I think it'd be confusing if you wrote, the reason, you've been hearing me say put the dollar sign, but it would be confusing if you put the dollar sign 100. It ranged from $100 to $125 and you had the dollar symbol here. Be confusing, so you write it out this way. Mrs. Anderson paid $45,000, so we put the dollar symbol here. But if the person said Mrs. Anderson paid $45,000 for the sedan, they just said $45,000, then you don't put the dollar symbol. So now we're going to get into sort of using the ciphers or amounts under $1. A can of tomato sauce costs 79 cents. They said 79 cents. You just write it this way. But let's say they use the sentence, I'm just reading the end off, $2.99 and 79 cents. So each can of soup costs $2.99. A can of tomato sauce is 79 cents. So since you want to keep a consistent format, you would write it this way. And then since we're writing an amount under $1 in this format, you do not use a cipher. Now, if you're writing this in the BGGP, you could put the cipher or the 0 here if you wanted to. That's it. Please subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like and check out my videos and books. Thank you.